Our products are organically sourced natural healthy foods from Nigeria, West Africa, sourced directly from the small local farmers. At Naturalike, we believe what you put in your body and on your body can dramatically impact your health and well-being. Boost your energy levels and satisfy your cravings with a healthy dose of natural sweetness from our products. We're excited to help lead African foods and products into the global health and wellness markets. Follow us on Instagram at Naturalike, on Facebook at Naturalike LLC, and YouTube at Naturalike TV. These organically sourced foods are available at our Amazon store, amazon.com/naturalike. Email us at naturalikeproducts@gmail.com.
One of the greatest empires in world history was the Mali Empire. The Mali Empire was one of the most prosperous and powerful empires in the antiquity of Africa. Its growth and expansion from the 13th century onwards was legendary and pivotal in the history and culture of Western Africa. The Mali Empire Volume 1, from author J.P. Martin, available on Amazon, is a book which provides the full historical record of the Mali Empire. From their control over the trans-Saharan trade routes and development of great cities such as Timbuktu, to their influential royal class who produced notable African kings such as Mansa Musa, Sundiata Keita, and Mansa Abubakar Keita II, the Mali Empire made a significant impression. This book is perfect for anyone interested in learning more about the history of Western Africa. Order your copy right now on Amazon. The Mali Empire, Volume 1, from author J.P. Martin. Go to Amazon.com and get your copy today.
Peace, family. I hope all is well. I hope your hump day, your Wednesday is going well. Thank you so much for joining. Again, thank you so much for joining. Make sure you hit the like button. Again, please hit the like button. Also, make sure you share and make sure you subscribe. I will greatly appreciate it. And as always, I want to thank all of you for the support over the years. It really means a lot. Listen, we're about, let's see here, 13 years strong. 13 years strong in regards to posting on Facebook. I mean, not Facebook, YouTube, going live consistently. We've been here about 2016, roughly 2015, 2016, well, 2016-ish. But as far as posting content from the continent, 2012, around there, 2012, I think, 2013, something like that. And listen, we're not going nowhere. We are not going anywhere. You guys are going to have to run me off of here. And you got to run me out of Africa. We're not switching. We're not flip-flopping. If one day I come on this platform, again, if one day I come on this platform talking about I'm an Aboriginal, Hebrew, Native American, where the slave ships at, y'all come check on me. Again, if one day I come out here and say, you know what, I ain't no African, I can't stand Africa. I'm really American. I mean, I am American, but you know what I mean. Come and check on me. I'm a native. I ain't no African. I'm a Native American, Aboriginal, where the slave ships at. Come and check on me. Like something happened. Something happened. But y'all, we've been consistent. Ayana, chill out in the chat, please. Ayana, just chill out in the chat, please. Just comments and just a little too much. Just chill out. But thank you for being so excited, I guess. But like I said, we've been consistent. We not going nowhere. Again, we are not going anywhere. Okay. So everyone, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Have a couple of announcements. Announcement number one. First off, I want to thank everyone. If you're watching this, if you joined me in Senegal, in fact, we left on I think like May 11th or May 12th, so it's been a month since we left to go to Senegal. I mean, I'm back in America now, but if you attended that Senegal tour, if you're watching this, thank you so much. I just want to thank you all publicly on my platform. And if you joined me on a tour, regardless, shout out to WM Mustafa, who came to Sierra Leone with me back in, excuse me. Was that April of 2022? Was that was April of 2022, was it? Yeah, I think it was April 2022. But shout out to Wally for joining me in Sierra Leone in April of 2022. I appreciate it. If you're watching this, thank you for the support. It really means a lot. So, we got back actually, I got back it was April 2022. I've actually been back. So after Senegal, I went to Nigeria, spent a week there. I just got back here. Excuse me, I got back in the States on May 31st. Yeah, because 31 days of May. The last Friday. I got back in the States on that Friday. I didn't want to come back, but I had to. But the good news is, again, this is the good news. The good news is I will be going back in August to Nigeria for the Oshun Festival. And if you're watching this, if you want to join us in Nigeria for the Oshun Festival, please visit Danfo.Africa. Again, please visit Danfo, that's DANFO.Africa to learn more. We will love to have you all in Nigeria for the Oshun Festival. We are going to have an excellent time. We're going to have a great time. Look it up, Pearly. We're going to have a great time in Nigeria for the Oshun Festival. We have 2 spots remaining. So I would love to welcome Voyager 711. So I would love to have you all join us in Nigeria for the Oshun Festival. And a little bit about Danfo. Actually, I wrote this down. I'm going to put this up on the site. All right, this is like our ethos. I think that's the correct term. Ethos, who we are, to sum it up. So at Danfo, we're about genuine connections with local communities, the local communities that we visit, that we're in. We're all about genuine connections with those local communities. Authentic cultural immersion. So we eating the local food. We eating good. We're going to experience the culture firsthand. The authentic, I don't like to sugarcoat things. I don't like commercial. So we're about a true, authentic, as much as possible when applicable, experience. That's why we're going to the Oshun Festival. When we are outside, we outside. Listen, when we in these African streets, we in these African streets. All right. But you will come back to a comfortable bus and nice hotel. And the hotels we stay at, when you go to the itineraries on the site, you'll see the hotels that we stay at. All right. We don't focus on Bucci or ambiance. And the reason why I say that, because I eat the best food at the local hole in the walls, street food. I have not eaten at a restaurant where the ambiance was there. The sexy neon signs and all that other stuff. Nothing wrong with that. That's what you're into. Where the food tasted better. than the local hole in the walls, the local mom and pops. That's just my opinion. That's what my taste buds say. But when you're eating the local food, the mom and pops taste the best, if you ask me. But I will say this: when we're in Senegal, the hotel that we stayed at in St. Louis, the Siki Hotel, a nice hotel, nice restaurant. They had the best chicken yassa I've ever had. They had the best chicken yassa I've ever had. So there are exceptions. And guys, if there's an issue, give me the opportunity to fix the issue. If you have a problem, give me the opportunity to fix the problem. So go to Danfo.Africa. Again, we're rolling to Nigeria, Oshun Festival Tour, August 4th to the 13th. And then we're going to Benin Republic. So the Zanzibar trip is sold out. So I have Zanzibar on here. September 22nd to October 1st is sold out. I need to remove that and replace that with Benin Republic. So Benin Republic, that is going to be January 3rd through 12th. January 3rd through 12th for Benin Republic. So I'm only taking 5 people for Benin Republic. So if you're interested in joining us in Benin for the Voodoo Festival, please visit Danfo.Africa. So I got 5 spots for Benin, and I have 2 spots for the Oshun Festival. So with that being said, let's jump into today's topic. Guys, I'll be honest. It's so many moving parts. Guys, hit the like button again. Please hit the like button. Also, make sure you share. And don't be afraid to super chat. Okay, don't be afraid to super chat. There's so many moving parts to this Congo situation that this show is really to educate me. I would love people to call in and let me know and give their opinion on what's going on with the Congo. We just had an attempted coup. Then I see child labor. Then I always hear about, if it wasn't for, hold on. I have my iPhone right here. If it wasn't for the Congo, I wouldn't have an iPhone. So, and then also, for some reason, Kagame's tied into this. Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda. So I'm just trying to figure out how all this ties in together, what's going on. If somebody could call in, give me their opinion, let me know what's going on, that would be great. You have the patience of a saint to go through Murtala Muhammad Airport and then drive from Lagos State to Osun State. Larry, listen. The new terminal at Murtala Muhammad Airport is not that bad. It's not that bad. I was in and out. Guys, I'm going to be honest. Every time I flew into Nigeria, I'm in and out. I'm in and out. When I go to Nigeria and I fly into Murtala Muhammad, I'm in and out. I'm not there for an extended period of time. I go through passport control, get my bags. Sometimes customs checks me. If I'm having a great day, sometimes they don't. I'm in the lobby. I'm outside. I really don't exchange money like I used to because of this app, the Send app. There's an app called Send. There's Sendwave and then there's Send. So I could do direct bank to bank transfers. So I really don't change too much money. But anyways, when you're at the airport, the rates are usually worse than when you're out in the city. So, but I'm in and out. When it comes to Murtala Mohammed Airport, I don't have that many problems. Call an Uber. They got Uber in Nigeria. It's not that bad. Again, it's really not that bad. A lot of people like to just exaggerate. I've been to worse airports. The worst airport I've been to, flying international, Miami. That airport is terrible. Miami airport is terrible. That's the worst airport I flew into. I flew into Miami coming from Lagos on Roland Morocco. So I flew from Lagos to Casablanca to Miami. That airport is flying international is terrible. Excuse me, sorry about that. Again, that airport is terrible, if you ask me. You're not lying. Oh, here we go. Oh, guys, links in the chat room. If you want to call in, click on the link. Again, if you want to call in, click on the link. You're not lying. Miami is my least favorite airport. Yeah. I don't like that at all. I was trying to save some money because usually I fly back to New York. So when I come from Africa, I either fly to Atlanta, depending on where I'm at. But I fly back to New York to JFK. Yo, what's up, Skylar?
Hey, what's up, Don? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, yeah. So what do you want to talk first about the recent coup in the Congo, right?
I mean, we could do the coup. We could do, what's going on I guess that would be the eastern part where everybody blames Kagame, but we can start off with the coup.
Well, with the Kagame thing, let's just start with the Kagame thing first. So in 1994, there was the Rwanda genocide, right?
Right.
And then it was between the Rwanda Patriotic Front and the FAR government, the Hutu government, pretty much. And when the Rwanda Patriotic Front defeated the Hutu government, they fled to the Congo, pretty much, and they formed FDLR or Interahamwe. In fact, a lot of people got arrested. The UN arrested a lot of people in the Congo who took place in a genocide, because at the time Mobutu was the leader of the Congo, and Mobutu was friends with the Hutu government that fled into the Congo that was replaced by Rwanda. So pretty much FDLR been in the Congo for a long time, pretty much, and they've been there pretty much, and they carried their genocide against the Tutsi ideology. So it was a genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda, and they took that same ideology in the Congo. And there's been many militias in the Congo for a very long time. Like there's a whole bunch of them. Even before 1994, like the Katanga, the breakaway state of Katanga, and a bunch of other militias. So the Congo is a very big country with a whole lot of people. So there's going to be different people with different ideologies. So, and that's one of the big problems of the Congo, pretty much. But FDLR, the group that fled Rwanda, the Hutu extremists, that's just one of the militias, and they've been killing Tutsis ever since then. And they've been trying to get back into Rwanda. They've been trying to invade Rwanda. So they've been having battles on its border with Rwanda, and pretty much, and they keep been having battles between Rwanda and FDLR, and the Congolese government doesn't really have control over that piece of over all the country. So it's been building up over the years, and pretty much the FDLR have been more incorporated in the Congolese government. So they're now like people in the military, and this is the thing the Congolese government do. They don't defeat the militias. They just pay the militias and incorporate them into the military. So if you have all these militias running around wreaking havoc, and instead of the Congolese government defeating them, they just pay them and join the army. So that's why you have a lot of people who don't really like the army that much, because these aren't trained soldiers. They're militias men that the Congolese government couldn't defeat. So FDLR is incorporated into the Congo, into this policy in the Congo military, and that's just causing havoc between between Rwanda and the Congo. People blame Rwanda because there's a group of Tutsis inside the Congo that are native to the Congo, and they formed a bunch of militias. But the new one now is M23. That's the new militia that they formed, and that's in response to FDLR, because again, the Congo is a very big country, and FDLR took their anti-Tutsi sentiment to the Congo, and now they've been attacked against the Tutsis. So in response, the Tutsis formed this, and M23 is one of that militia. And because that's it's been assumed that Rwanda backs the M23 or they support the M23, but really it's just a bunch of people Congolese in the that are formed their own like ethnic militia group against the FDLR, against the government. So that's one of the reasons why people blame Kagame for that, because of the whole M23 situation. Because Kagame is a Tutsi and M23 is kind of mostly Tutsi, so that's why they blame Paul Kagame. But really, it's not really him. It's just the people in the Congo who are Tutsis are forming their own militias against the FDLR who are trying to genocide them. That's pretty much why that is. And
Hey,
so that's
Scholar, real
why.
quick.
Yeah.
Scholar,
Yeah.
real quick. There was a documentary, man. I've been trying to find this documentary again that I found on YouTube, and it dealt with like the Congo, Rwanda, Uganda, and how Kagame and the president of Uganda are once boys. They went to go take out Mobutu. I cannot find that documentary. If somebody could find that documentary and tell me the name of that documentary.
Hey, Donis, can I come
That
in
kind of
here?
is true. Hey, can I finish real quick, Elvis? Just let me that is true. Dinus, Kagame and Museveni were once teams. They worked together. Kagame went to Uganda as a refugee, and Museveni trained him pretty much. And they did work together to overthrow Mobutu, because again, Mobutu was funding FDLR, and FDLR was launching attacks into Rwanda. And so Rwanda just responded by simply overthrowing the Mobutu government, because Mobutu wouldn't stop attacking or funding FDLR. And they put in place Kabila, and that's a whole nother situation. But yeah, so that kind of is true with Museveni and Paul Kagame coming together to overthrow Mobutu. So they did overthrow Mobutu, and try to put someone else in place with Kabila, but that didn't work out. And then Kabila Jr. came in again, that didn't work out. And then you have Felix Tshisekedi. He's the current prime minister or president of the Congo, and he's becoming more and more like unhinged, pretty much. Like he's openly threatening to invade Rwanda, pretty much. He's threatened, but he did that at an election. Like again, he did that at an election before the election. So basically, he said, if I win the election, I will invade Rwanda, pretty much. That's what he said. And then he won the election, but he didn't invade Rwanda. So many politicians in the Congo just use Rwanda as a scapegoat for their own failures. Like there's plenty of militias in the Congo currently, and M23 is just one of them. But because M23 is perceived as a Tutsi group, they blame Paul Kagame, who is also Tutsi, for M23. So I'll just lay my plan there. Go ahead, Elvis.
All right. Thank you, man. You know, I always say to my friends, if I wasn't Liberian, I want to be Congolese. Because I love Congo, I love the culture, I love the rumba music. I think they should probably be where Nigeria is right now. They should probably be the giant of Africa. But let me say this: the issue with the Tutsis and the Hutus, you have to go way back, and you have to start in Burundi. There was a massive genocide that happened in Burundi before you even talk about the genocide that happened in the 1990s in Rwanda against the Hutus. And I blame the Belgians. They came and they brought this superiority complex, and gave it to the Tutsis that they're better than the Hutus because of the phenotypical differences that they have with the Hutus. They were taller, they were slender. The Europeans, the Belgians, even starting to call them Afro-Asiatic, that they're not typical African Negroids. You know, they made them kings. They gave the kingship in Burundi and in Rwanda to the Tutsis because they felt like they were genetically superior. So there's a long, there's been this brewing hatred between the Hutus and the Tutsis for many many years. Especially, you have to look at Burundi carefully with the government and what happened in Burundi and how the Hutus were suppressed in that country. Paul Kagame worked with Yoweri Museveni and it helped him to overthrow Nelson Obote in Uganda, the guy that took over after Idi Amin. And in return, uh, Museveni helped Kagame to go back to Rwanda and fight that war. And what's happening in the Congo right now? When Laurent Kabila came and took over after Seko fled, he came in and went to Kinshasa, but he didn't secure most of the countryside, like places like Kivu and Goma in the east, Katanga, that region. He didn't secure that area. Congo is a massive country filled with a lot of jungles and a lot of, forests. So those areas, which is more like a hillside and hilly, it's not easy to get to. And after the Rwanda genocide, like you're saying, a lot of Hutus fled for refuge because the Bantus in that area are more akin to the Hutus, whereas the Rwandan Tutsis are more akin to like the Kenyans and more like the Somalis, which is a different kind of African. But the point here is Paul Kagame is in fact involved. The United Nations have said this. Other African countries have said this. He is involved, and primarily thanks to Museveni because like Kenya and Uganda, they're working hand in hand with the United States because they're like the buffer zone against Al Shabaab, which is a terrorist group coming out of Somalia, and they have been fighting that group, from Mombasa, from Nairobi, all the way down to Kampala. Kagame and Museveni, and the president of Kenya, they've been working with the U.S. as a security force in that region to fight against terrorism. That's why you see Kenya has been elevated to even carry troops to Haiti, and they've been promised, I think, some like $2 or $3 billion in aid from the United States because they've been doing such a good job working on the U.S. behalf to secure that region. But Paul Kagame, he's a smart guy, but he's using the resources from Kivu and Goma to build up his country, and he know he's getting those resources through diabolical means. And I feel sorry for the people of the Congo because I feel like what happened between the Hutus and the Tutsis, many people who don't know the deeper history will just look at it like the Hutus attacked the Tutsis and they were in the wrong. And on the face of it, you will say yes, but you have to go back to the history. That's why I say go back to Burundi, understand the history of Burundi, because what happened to the Hutus in that country was even more terrible. They were made servants. You will go to a Hutu household, a Tutsi household, and you will see Hutus serving as their servants. Even in the government, they said before you hire one Tutsi or one Hutu, you have to hire I think 4 or 5 Tutsis, and they could always be underneath the Tutsis and never on top of the two. I mean, it was a genetically superior complex that these guys had against the Hutus. And the Hutus, I tend to sympathize with them because what the Belgians said was that the Hutus was genetically inferior because the back of their hair was flatter, meaning that their brains were not fully formed as compared to the Hutus. They were shorter in stature as compared to the more, the taller, Tutsis. So there was just this whole thing that made these people feel superior to the Hutus, and that's why when the Hutus had a president of their own, because they couldn't get a president in Burundi, they had their own president that was shot down and killed in an airplane accident. That was the breaking point for them because they felt like the Hutus wanted to take power, and since they couldn't do it democratically, They killed their, they assassinated their president, and that was what sparked the genocide because that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and everybody just kind of went loose and was like, okay, we can't take this anymore, and that's how the genocide started. I'm not advocating for it, but I'm saying let's get a deeper context here. So for people who like Kagame and they go to Rwanda and they see that it's clean and it looks good, the guy's been in office for almost, I think, over 20 years. If you think he's a democratic president or has democratic tendencies, you're wrong. He's what some people like to call a benevolent dictator, somebody who is quote unquote doing good, but is a dictator none the same, nonetheless. So the point here is he's in this mafia kind of relationship with Museveni, and before then it was Kiyata, but now maybe it's going to be William Ruto, and they're kind of in that triangle. And the United States is going to indulge them in some of the things that they're doing in the region because they're providing security for that region. But I'm 100% in agreement that Kagame is complicit in what is going on in the Congo. He's benefiting. His country is benefiting from it directly, and to a lesser extent, Museveni is also benefiting from it. And I just wanted to make those points. Maybe somebody else, I can pass it back to you.
Hey
Hey,
guys,
yo, can I say something?
1 second. Links in the chat room. If you guys want to call in, please click on that link again. If you want to call in, link is in the chat room. Add to the conversation. I see people talking or giving their opinions in the chat. But click on the link. Go ahead, Skylar.
Yo, can I say something? Who do you with the Burundi again? Burundi and Rwanda are two separate countries. I know they're similar, but again, they're two separate countries. What happened I'm not familiar with history in Burundi, but I know there was a monarchy, Tutsi monarchy, or something like that, and there was a Hutu revolution and a monarchy end. But but we're Rwanda. Again, there was a Tutsi monarchy. Again, the monarchy ended, and then the Hutus they did have democratic elected Hutus in Rwanda. But with the plane shot, and there was laws discriminating against the Tutsis in Rwanda. That's why Paul Kagame fled. Was a refugee because he was a Tutsi that fled the Hutus who were governing Rwanda. And with the whole plane being shot down, that wasn't an accident. It was shot down by Akaza and members of the Presidential Guard, the Hutu Presidential Guard. I know there's this crazy conspiracy that there's a mystery that who shot down the plane or some really stupid one that Paul Kagame shot down a plane. But it's just typical, makes sense. Most presidents in Africa are assassinated by members of their own military. This happens all the time. But the Congo, Patrice Lumumba was assassinated by Mobutu, who was a colonel. Same thing in West Africa. Blaise Compaoré, I forgot Blaise Compaoré in Burkina Faso. I forgot
Thomas
the guy
Sankara.
yeah, Sakar. Yeah, exactly. So again, it was the Hutus that killed the Hutu president because he was making a peace treaty with the RPF, and there were Hutu extremists that did not want that. That's why they also killed the Hutu president at the time. I forgot the lady's name, but she was a Hutu and she wanted to. She was not. She was against extremism. But when the plane shot down by the Presidential Guard, they also went to go kill her too. That's why they also killed a bunch of UN officials and some other UN African guards. So then again, they were the Presidential Guard. So why would they kill the president? There clearly was a broader extremist who wanted to kill Hutus who weren't extremists. So if they killed the president, why wouldn't they kill the prime minister? So it makes sense that they were kind of kill the president and the prime minister because there were a bunch of Hutu extremists that just want to wipe out the Tutsi altogether. So I know there's this conspiracy theory that it was the RPF, and again, it's just typical African history. The president is usually assassinated by someone in his own army. That's how that works in Africa. It's not like there's an invading army and it defeats the president. No, he's usually assassinated or coup by members of his own army. That's why the coup in the Congo didn't work. The dude that went to go coup the Congo, he wasn't a member of the army. He was a Congolese that went to America and got training in America, and they went to the Congo to go bum rush Kinshasa. That's why it failed, because he wasn't in the army. There wasn't anybody on the inside to help him. That's why he failed.
Are you African?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Why are you calling these names so funny? It's Kinshasa, not Kinshasa.
Yeah, I have a hard time pronouncing. I'm not African. I'm an African American.
Okay.
So yeah, that's why. And a lot of people online are make up these conspiracies against Paul Kagame and like Tutsis that they shot down the plane, which is really stupid. Like why? How? Like if they shot down the plane, why didn't they shoot down the plane sooner? Like before the
Look,
war.
let me
But
jump in here for a second, if you permit me.
yeah, okay.
You said something that was key, and I think you're right in a sense. You said that Tutsis were being discriminated against in Rwanda. So when you ask yourself why would they shoot down that plane? Look, I'm gonna tell you this. I've said it earlier. When you have a superiority complex and you've been told that you're better than these people for the longest
Elvis,
time, hold on,
I
please.
said okay.
Hold on. I'm trying to, put you into the mindset of a
Yeah, but
Tutsi.
I didn't say why. I said how. How did they shoot down the plane? How can they get
I
that
mean,
close to the
how do people
plane?
shoot down planes with an
How
RPG
did
or
they
a
get
rocket
that close?
propelled
They were at
grenade?
war with each other. How can they
No,
get that close to the plane?
hold
Like,
on,
where were
brother.
the guards at?
Hold on. The
I know I'm
plane was in
asking.
this. Hold on now. The plane was in the sky. It was coming in for a landing, right? And
Yes, how can they
there.
get that close?
I mean, come on, my
How?
guy. You
Like,
don't you
no,
know
I'm
that there
asking.
are
How can they get
rocket
that
propelled
close?
grenades? You
There's
can
no
shoot.
president. There's no guard. There's no one guarding the plane of the president because they
Look, the
weren't
plane
there.
was.
It was the president.
Hold on. You don't. Let me just get to my point first, and then I'll pass it back to you. My point here is when you're looking for motive, you're asking why would they want to do this? Was because that in Rwanda, the Hutus were dominant. In Burundi, the Tutsis were dominant. And these two groups of people live amongst each other in both of these countries. And in Burundi, it was the opposite, where the Hutus was the majority and they suppressed and they felt like they had this divine rule, right to rule, and they display arrogance, this form of superiority over the Hutus in Burundi. And most people who know the history of what happened in Burundi understand what happened to the Hutus was terrible. Now when you go to Rwanda, it was a power struggle because in numbers the Hutus were more, and they had a democratic elections and they elected a Hutu president, and the Tutsis wanted to be in leadership of the country because they've been this idea has been you know in their head that they're superior to the Hutus, and for them to see a Hutu president be the leader of a country, they couldn't stand it. So when that plane got shot down, there was tension in the country before the plane got shut down. There was tension there, and that's why when it happened, the blame completely shifted to the Tutsis, and the suspicions were right on the Tutsis because there's been this talk that no Hutu is going to rule over a Tutsi because the Hutus are inferior. If you understand the history of this country, that's what I'm trying to tell you. So when you say that how can a plane get shot down from the sky, you got to be joking. That Rwanda is a mountainous country. There are people who went up to the hill and shot that plane down with an RPG.
How
That's
did
what
the
happened. So
RPF
when you say
know?
there's presidential guard, there's not presidential guards guarding the plane while it's in the air. They might be in the cabin with the president and whatnot, but what's outside of the plane, it's not like the U.S. where you have fighter jets flying behind the president's plane. That's not how it is in Africa most of the time. So there was the RPG that hit the plane and brought it down and killed the president and everybody else that was on board. And that pointed the fingers at the Tutsi. It hasn't been 100% verified, but the suspicion and the vast
It
majority
has been
of the
verified.
people
It's not 100. It has been verified. That was shot by a Kaza, and it was shot by a military base inside Rwanda, near the
from who
capital.
who
By
verified it.
Kaza, Imperial Guard. It's a British report. It's a British
Okay,
report.
thank you.
Okay.
And these are the same people who gave the Tutsi that superiority complex that they were better than the Hutus. So my point here,
What
I would just put my
superiority complex?
you
Elvis, this is the same thing you said about the Americo-Liberians. How the
hold on,
Americo-Liberians. No, 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 no,
hold
no.
on.
No, no, let me finish.
I
Let me
want
finish.
you,
No,
yeah, I
let me
want you to
finish
do a
this.
little
This is
bit
the
of
same thing
research.
you. Oh no, I have. I listen to you a lot. You're the same guy that justified killing the American Liberians because you felt like they oppressed the indigenous, but they didn't. And now look at Liberia now. You
You
think the
said that
Liberia
you
coup
what do you know about Liberia?
about the American African Americans went there, set up a colony, pretty much. 1980, there was a coup. Yeah, but I've been
Yeah,
following Diamond for a while.
that's just the cookie cutter history that you know. I live there. I have family
No,
members who are both.
the history in 1980. There was a then Samuel Doe led a coup against the American Liberians, and out of that, the country been went to hell pretty much. There was no refugees prior to 1980. They only were refugees after 1980. So again, you
What
have this narrative where
what are you
people are
talking about?
against Samuel Doe,
No,
Charles.
no,
Elvis, you know what he's talking about.
Yeah,
no.
Elvis, you know what I'm talking
The
about.
point here,
Hold on, one more. Once Samuel Doe took over, Liberia went to down the toilet. Period.
not true,
Exactly.
not
That's
true, not
true.
true,
Completely
Dynasty,
Man,
true.
come
not
on,
true,
that's
Completely
facts. Come
true.
on,
not
facts.
true.
That's
Listen,
fact.
listen.
So true.
I will make this
Elvis,
last point, and then I'll pass the mic. Hold on.
You're a
I'll,
product of Samuel Doe's coup. Your
hold
family
on
is a
now. I'll
product
make
of it.
this last point, and then I'll pass the mic. When Samuel Doe took over, most people don't know this. War did not come immediately. He was in office for almost 10 years before the invasion came into the country. In those 10 years, you know, things was not as smooth as before, but the country didn't go down the toilet in 10 years. When the war came in 1989 December, that's when things really went to shit. So when you say that just by Samuel Doe being president or being the leader of the of the country, things went downhill, it's not true. That's what I'm trying to
So
say.
why didn't it went downhill before the 10 years? Before the 10 years, why went it downhill before the 10 years of Samuel Doe? Because you said it took 10 years and the American Liberians were in charge of the country for centuries, pretty much. So centuries, the country was fine. There was no civil
No,
war.
the
10
country
years,
wasn't fine.
10 years,
That's
10 years,
what you
where
don't
was there a war?
understand.
Was there a
What is your
war?
name?
Was there a war? Was there a civil war? Were there Liberians fleeing to America for refugee status? Where were the Liberian refugees before 1980? Elvis, where were they?
I mean, you sound
Where were
silly
they?
right now. What caused
It's not.
what
It's
hold
not
on.
silly.
Hold on. What caused somebody to be a refugee?
War and instability.
Okay, so if there's not war, how do you expect there to be a refugee?
Exactly. Where was the
So
instability
the
when the
war,
American
the
Liberia?
outbreak of
Exactly,
the
Elvis.
war is what
Exactly, Elvis.
caused their
Where
the
was the
outbreak of a
war?
war is what caused
Where was
for
the
there to be
war before
refugees.
1980? Where was the instability before 1980? Where
All
was the
right,
war pre
let me explain it
1980?
to you. Let me explain it to you quickly. All right, let me explain this to you quickly. I'll give you one thing that hurt a lot of people from a specific region, which is the region that I come from. There was a war fought. You know, there's a group of people in Liberia known as the crew. You know, they're a warring kind of people, and they don't like to be oppressed. They don't like to be trampled upon. There was a war that was fought. You know, these group are called the crew group, and the government at the time, which is called the frontier forces, which was the forces of the government of Liberia. And they came to a stalemate. There was supposed to be this peace treaty that was supposed to be settled. And the chiefs from this ethnic group, the crew group, I think it was about 72 of them, they came to talk about a peace treaty, with the government. And having this assurance that there would be peace and they would come to some kind of understanding to end the war, they were executed. These are chiefs, these are leaders of their people. They were executed by the frontier forces. This happened in the 1800s or so, early 1900s. And that left a bad taste in the mouth of those people, which is the ethnic group that Samuel Doe, or that same ethnic group that Samuel Doe came from, the same ethnic group that I come from as well.
Why were they executed?
Because there was war, and after people from the frontier forces were killed, and these, of course, the crew people was also killed, and instead, and the government called for a truce, and these people agreed to it. And when they came, they were cowardly executed before their people, and they were killed. And we never forgot that. To this very day, we have not
I
forgotten.
gotta hear the other side of it.
Yeah, me
Right.
too.
But
What
guys,
about the other?
let me pass it to Elski. Elski, go ahead, Elski.
How you doing, guys?
Doing well.
Is anybody here Congolese?
I'm
Uh,
Congolese in spirit. It's my second home.
I'm Tusi in
I'm
spirit. I'm
Congolese.
polygamy in spirit.
I'm Congolese in real life, and I've had to research uh this this event, which started like in uh 1992, I believe. And the whole Hotel Rwanda thing is been documented and researched uh, by the UN. It's been researched by the UN. They brought out papers on it. Uh, one of the papers on it was the UN mapping, which came out in 2008. So uh, this whole event basically happened because if you chase it all the way back where it came from, it happened because of the British monarchy wanted more land around that area. That was also researched by the LaRouche paper or the LaRouche community, which is like a anti-imperialist society or community. So what happened was uh, the whole event started around the British monarchy claiming Virunga Park, or turning that area that we call Virunga Park now, claiming that whole park and seizing it, and claiming the 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 lake around that area as well. So uh, to do that, they they used what the brother was talking about, the whole Tutsi versus Hutu mentality that the Belgium implemented within the Rwandan community, or the in Rwanda. So uh, from 1992, a huge check was written out by by the American Citibank. It went in the hand of Laurent Kabila, who 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 started the entry into the Congo. But before that, uh, the USA already had a trained man, which was Paul Kagame, who went into no who went to the University of Dar es Salaam. University of Dar es Salaam is a university created by you know uh, outside forces to train the next African oppressors, the next African leadership who will be oppressing their countries. And Paul Kagame was one of those people. So was Museveni. Loads of different dictators come out of that university. And the person that documents all of this, his name is uh, Keith Harmon Snow. He basically goes through the whole genocide and and takes you through it step by step, which companies was involved. Like he'll tell you, because the massacre, the genocide, the Rwandan genocide wasn't done with guns. It was done with like axes and machetes, and he'll actually tell you where those machetes came from, who bought them, who set up the communication lines for the so-called rebels to talk to each other.
Radio
That was all.
Kigali. If you've heard about Radio Kigali, Radio
Yeah,
Kigali.
and and that was Vodafone telecom towers, which later on Vodacom also uh, gained a lot in the area. They gained a lot in the east in terms of minerals. So it was a whole coup set up by the United States, Belgium, and the UK and France. In the UN mapping report, it talks about the Operation Turquoise, which was when the French actually led Tutsi militia into the Congo and created camps for them. That's written in the UN mapping report. And another incident was written in the LaRouche papers. I've read this thing like in 2000 and maybe 11, 2013. So I have to refresh my memory. But what was I talking about again? Yeah, that's it. The incident that happened around a certain village in East Congo, where I think it was either French or British. I think it was RAF or a fighter jet actually bombed the area in east of Congo, next to Rwanda, just to clear it out so they can get rid of the people there, because it was a diamond filled area. So this whole thing is not being done by militias or I don't know, renegades. No, it's an organized, well structured. It took a long time to organize, and if you want to see the receipt, you have to go to Keith Harmon Snow. If you want to see the receipts on that whole event.
Okay, let me come in here for let me come here for a second. Let me come here for a second. Look, I want to give some criticism to Felix Tshisekedi. I think the person who was poised to be president of the Congo was supposed to be Martin Fayulu, which was who had been an opposition leader for a long time. And the fact that Joseph Kabila picked, Tshisekedi to be his successor, I think that that wasn't a good thing. But Congo is such a big country. It's so much, it's so populated, and I think it's being mismanaged. It's been mismanaged for a very long time. And I think if Felix Tshisekedi can governize the people, rightfully so, I would support him. If Kagame doesn't stop supporting the rebels in the east, there should be war.
Okay.
There should be war.
So Elvis. So you think there should be war?
Yes, I think that's what I said.
Like Liberia.
If Kagame, listen to the caveat.
I listen to you all the time.
Okay, then.
You believe in death and destruction.
No.
In death and destruction.
Do you see what's going? I have a question. Do you see what's going on in Congo?
Yeah, because the government
you think
is
Kagame believe in death and destruction?
No, the Congolese government does, and all these militias. By the way, what do you think when Felix said?
Right now, what's going on there is a proxy war.
I have a question, Elvis. I have a question for you. Why did Felix said, "I will invade Rwanda" before the election? Why didn't he just invade Rwanda?
And that's the point. That's the point that I'm giving you right now. That's why you have to understand things.
Because
that's why you have to understand. You have to understand things on a deeper level.
Because he knows
that Paul Kagame. Hold on one second.
He knows that he's just lying. He's making it up to get votes.
Hold on, bro.
Because there is no connection with Rwanda.
Hold on. Why would the president of a country, right? The largest ethnic group in the DR Congo? They're not Hutus. They're not Tutsi.
Why would that matter?
Tutsi.
Why are you so tribalist? Like, why do you keep making people?
Hold on.
No,
the point that I'm trying. Hold on, bro.
Hey, Skylar, let Elvis finish, and then we'll pass it to you, Skylar. Go ahead. Hold on, Elski. Go ahead, Elvis.
Right. It's Luganda. All right. It's the largest ethnic group. That's where the language Lingala comes from. They're not Hutus. They're not Tutsis. So the point that I'm trying to make here is not because Felix Tshisekedi is a Tutsi who's trying to fight for the Tutsis. or Hutu who's trying to fight against the Tutsi. That's the point that I'm making. The reason is because the people of the Congo have felt like they're a more powerful country. They have more people. They're a bigger nation. They have a larger army. And if Kagame keeps doing this and nobody is saying anything to him, or there's been no resistance from the government of Congo, he's going to continue doing this. So you can only meet force with force. That's why he made a threat to Paul Kagame and told him, if you don't stop doing this, we're going to have to invade you. We're going to have to go to war with you. He made that. And this is coming from a president. He has all the intelligence. He knows what's really going on in his country. So for somebody
Why did
like
he
you
do
to
it?
say, hold on. For somebody like you to say there's no evidence, there's nothing. The United Nations have said that Paul Kagame and the Rwandan government is complacent in what is going on in the east of Congo. And people who have two brain cells can see that Paul Kagame has his hands in the cookie jar from the mineral resources of the Congo, and he's benefiting from it. That's what people are seeing right now. And Congo doesn't want to
Yeah.
go to war. But the reality is, Paul Kagame keeps doing it because he feels like there will be no resistance to him. That's why President Tshisekedi said that if he doesn't stop, he will have no other choice but to invade Rwanda. That's why he said that. That's the
No,
last resort. That's the last resort.
no.
What?
Chisekedi has a handler. His name is uh, Kabila. Kabila hasn't gone anywhere. Kabila, the son,
Yeah,
the former president.
Joseph Kabila.
Yes, he is now uh, the let's say he has a lot of assets in the Congo. He's well founded. He is the U.S. and all of that. He is the main guy in it. The only reason he stepped down was because of pressure from the Congolese population. For over 10 years, they've been pushing for Kabila to step down because he was almost like a dictator. Didn't want to hold elections, all of those things. So uh, once he did his mandate, he was forced to step down, and he chose, selected who he wanted to be on that chair. So the Congo is is not going to retaliate. The Congo is not going to retaliate. What happened was Tshisekedi sent troops in the east to go and seize a, a certain territory uh, that also has coltan, but the Congolese troops stopped there. That was basically Tshisekedi's claim of getting richer. He took some land in the east. That was about it. They're not going to push any further because the contract has been signed. The EU signed the contract with Kagame or Rwanda for mineral resources. That's where all the mineral resources are going to, through Rwanda, and sometimes through Kenya, Uganda. Uh, the Ugandan army is in the DRC, and they're cutting down trees. Kony has, if you know who Joseph Kony is, Joseph Kony has been in the DRC for ages. Nobody can find him, and Museveni can't find him. But,
No,
so
he's most likely in South Sudan right now. He's left that area.
I have a question.
yeah,
Do you think
Go ahead, Skyler.
what about Zach Off, that Jewish guys who worked with Kabila and is currently still in the Congo and Glencore and all these Chinese mining company? I don't see how Paul Kagame is blamed for all the resources being taken when all these other groups are openly in the Congo exploiting people and taking mines. And again, there's cobalt in Rwanda, there's cobalt in Burundi, there's cobalt in Uganda. It's the Great Lakes region. They have the same geography. So this idea there's no cobalt in Rwanda and there's no resource in Rwanda, it's just It's just goofy. Like, it's the same geography. You're gonna find resources all over the same place. And by the way,
No,
like, how is it
the
that
the
Rwanda is
highest
being developed?
concentration is in the Congo.
That doesn't
Pound
negate
for
the fact. That
pound,
doesn't negate the fact that there's cobalt in Rwanda. It doesn't matter the
pound for pound. I'm
concentration.
sure
There's
you know
still
this. Pound for pound, Congo has the most resource
that doesn't
on the
matter.
entire
There's
planet.
still cobalt in Rwanda. There is
Sorry.
still cobalt in Uganda. Like, it's still there. It doesn't matter. It has more. It's still there. Just like it's gold in Kenya.
Sorry, bro. I just told you whether it's Chisekedi, whether it's uh, whether it's Kabila, whether it's Kagame, they all have handlers. But for some reason, you are inclined on trying to prove Paul Kagame is innocent and he has unblemished hand. Paul Kagame cannot step into Brussels. If he steps into Brussels, he'll get arrested because of uh, because of certain Brussels citizen being assassinated, or Belgium citizen being assassinated for investigating Rwanda. Not just Belgium citizen, Canadian, loads of people that have investigated Rwanda end up going missing in whether you're in South Africa, whether you're in Uganda. Some reason hitmen seem to find you if you investigate Kagame. This is a
Bro,
well-known fact.
yes, it's a mafia,
What
bro.
about all
Uganda
the other?
and Kenya is supporting Kagame being a thug in that region. We know this, and the Europeans are
So
starting
does
to
West
catch on,
Africa. So
and
does
they're
the new
gonna
guy in
put on
Senegal.
a arrest warrant for him pretty soon. Watch, in the next couple of years, you're probably going to see an ICC arrest warrant for Paul Kagame. The guy's a thug. You look at the successes in Rwanda, and we're impressed by it. Good, but he's also doing some clandestine things in the region that is undermining the peace and stability of that region. And people have to talk about it. That's my point.
Again, they've been blaming the M23 for Rwanda, and then ADF. What, 85? What's that Uganda militia? That's an Islamic group. Again, 85 or ADF or something like that. They blame that for Museveni too. They've been blaming these militias on foreigners all the time. Like, again, with 85, they said Uganda or Museveni back 85, when 85 is like Islamic and Museveni is like a Catholic. And plus, the Uganda government like killed 85 members. So they've been alleging like these militias are backed by these government when it's just not true
Bro,
for a long time.
you have a simplistic view of things. You're so simplistic in your view. You think a Christian a president can support a Muslim militia group if the end
They've been
justifies the
fighting.
means?
They've been fighting each other. Like,
I
the
mean,
Ugandan government killed members of
There is no
85.
have you heard about proxy
there,
wars?
I
There are
think you're
proxy
being
wars.
way too conspiratorial. Like, again, 85
No,
been at war
no,
with Uganda. Like, if they're working
no.
together, it doesn't make sense.
You
Why would
you're
they kill
saying
each other?
because of
do
religious
you know
divide is an impossibility
what
that he will support them. That's not
Because
true.
they're
well,
killing each other.
one minute.
They're killing each
Do you
other.
know there is a Rwandan so-called militia leader that's in prison in the IC by that's been imprisoned by the ICC because of the Rwandan the Congolese genocide that's going on in the east.
Yeah, Tutsi guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot his name. I could check it out. I think it's Rubera,
Yeah.
and
Like I said, there's a
many
bunch of
more. Many
there's a
more
bunch of
are on
different.
that list.
Yeah.
So
There's a bunch of.
for some
All
reason,
right.
you're trying to clean up Kagame's hands. Nobody's blaming the Tutsi community or the Tutsi people. Nobody's doing the other, even the Hutu people. We all know the 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 things that are happening over there are to do with arms that are coming from South Africa, from a specific South African company. I forgot the name because it's been a long time since we've done the research, but uh, that those that armed company basically armed all of the so-called uh, Tutsi rebels around that region and also Rwanda. So the
So,
guns
so,
that
so
the
Skylar, let me ask you, why do you support the Tutsis and Kagame rather than instead of the Hutus?
It's not about supporting. And okay, Rwanda and the Congo are different. I support Rwanda because again, it's a successful country. All these other countries are keep their people in poverty. Like this Rwanda RPF or Paul Kagame, it's a good country. Anybody else who hates on it are losers. Like the people who just hate Rwanda are just losers, and they're just losers. They can't build anything. They can't do anything. So they make excuses for their failure. For the Congo, I don't want all these militias running around. Like I think it's bad. Again, whether it's M23, AD5, and all these other groups. But the problem is, like again, FDLR went into the Congo and they've been killing Tutsis ever since then. And the government haven't like stopped any of this stuff. The government doesn't treat everyone equally. They do treat certain people equally, and that caused animosity. You know, that's why you have 85. Again, when people are poor, they form their own militias and all that shit. Whether it's in the West Kivu or in the Katanga province, when that whole thing happened with Katanga province, they wanted to secede a bunch of militias. So again, it's just the government in the Congo is weak, and people take up arms to defend themselves. Huh?
can you
Kivu
please
is not
stop
in the
calling
west.
them
Kivu is in the
militias?
east.
Oh, I mean East
Can you
Congo,
please
yeah.
stop calling them? Can you please stop calling them militias? They are not
What
militias.
what are they?
Let me tell you
They are
this.
not militias.
Let me tell you this, Skylar. I'll give you an example. You think Rwanda is a success, which relative from a country coming from war seems to be successful. But Kenya is far more successful than Rwanda, has been way more stable. Even Uganda, far more successful economically and been more stable than Rwanda. So the fact that you like this idea that Kagame is doing a good job, that's fine. If that was all there was to it, if he wasn't involved in the death that's been taking place in the Congo, it's been going on for many years, and people know that the cobalt, the coltan, the gold, the copper that's coming from that region is helping to build Rwanda at the detriment of the Congolese. That's why
What
people are against Kagame. We're
what
not
about
against him
Uganda?
because he's successful.
Okay,
Like I
what about
said,
is that
Uganda is involved, but to a lesser extent.
I
But
call it cap. I remember this all the
Okay.
way. People were saying Uganda, Rwanda are stealing resources. Now it's just Rwanda. You know, Museveni is Museveni. He's been there all the time. So
I
he
said
stopped.
it. I said it earlier on that it's like a mafia. It's like a mafia triangle between Uganda, Kenya, and Rwanda, and those
Can
guys
you
have been
please?
working. Go ahead.
The problem is the problem is you're labeling a whole country instead of routing out the individuals or the leadership in
Right.
that
That's
country.
you know what I
So,
mean. I mean, I'm not
the-
saying all the individuals in the countries are corrupt, but I mean the leaders of
and
that country.
I'm saying this because the Congolese have the same problem. The Congolese uh, have developed, a hatred towards Rwandans, and I tell them all the time, it's got nothing to do with the average Rwandan. The the armed forces that are there are trained by forces like Mossad and and the British forces.
The French Foreign Legion as well.
Yes, they train children, they train uh, women, whoever they can get their hands on, especially children. So they can be of use to them in that area. And like I'm saying, the guns are coming from South Africa. We can trace these things. The communication is coming from the communication device is coming from Britain. We can trace these things that are going on around that area, but it has to be like a lecture. I have to go and study and read and read and read, and then come up with all of the the material. But this 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 uh this back and forth about it's not Rwanda, it's that, it's that. Paul Kagame can build Rwanda today. When he passes, and next president gets it, uh, it can all go upside down. It can all go upside down. There will be no more rebuilding of the structures that are there. The next president can keep the buildings dilapidated. You don't know what's going to happen next because uh, he's not really in charge. He's not really in charge. I'll give you like a incident that happened back in the, I think it was in the early 90s, when if you want to see when Europeans take take an African country serious, like I think the British sent over 65,000 men in South Africa, or 80,000 armed forces in South Africa. We're talking about boats, planes, to go and take on the Dutch.
Yeah, the Boers.
That yeah, that's the last phase of imperialism. When you see the Europeans coming to you uh, on their ship with their boats into the country, that's when your country is basically is strong enough to take them on without without them using things like uh, espionage or corruption to create a platform for their companies to come and you know just take minerals. So we all know there's no African country that can resist European corruption. There's no African country that can resist European corruption, bribery. There's over how many people in Rwanda? If you're not satisfied with uh, bribing average citizen, you can just create your own puppets. You can create a puppet
Right.
factory like Dar es Salaam. So I think I'm speaking to a young man here, whatever Skylar or whoever. I'm in my 40s. Before I get into a debate or a conversation, I start off with the, the a question or debate on Africa. I start out with, uh, do you do you know that African presidents are not actually presidents? They are just they're just handpicked handpicked individuals that represent a certain company, a certain company in that
Okay,
region.
let me come in here for a second, brother. You've had your time. Let me say this. I would agree with you, right? And not because you have to understand the world order. I always tell people this when it comes to dealing with my countrymen. We tend to think that black people should be able to rise up and be independent and and be leaders on their own, and that's all great. Ideally we want to be independent, we want to be strong, but you know where real power comes from? First of all, it's military. Real power comes from military and then economic might. We don't have that in Africa. We're at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to military. We don't even have a country in our continent that has nuclear weapons. We don't have a strong, formidable army. Many people thought it was Nigeria. We're talking sub-Saharan African here, not the Arabs, because in Africa, the strongest and the largest army there is the Egyptian army, and we know they don't like quote unquote black African like ourselves. So when we look at Nigeria and we look at DRC Congo, we should be, in that same conversation. We're not doing anything. We're not building anything. We're not, lifting ourselves from poverty. We're not innovating. We're not building anything. And when I say this, people tend to get angry because this platform is supposed to be for black empowerment, black upliftment. But the reality is, on the current war stage, we're at the bottom. And the reality is, those who have the goal is going to rule. In the West, especially the European countries, those are the folks who have the currencies that we seek, the currencies that have true value. They have the military might to enforce that currency. So we'll always be at that, at the beck and call, because we are not powerful in terms of building up our military and building up our economy. That's why we put our trust in Nigeria, in Ghana, even in South Africa. But we know the situation in South Africa, where you have a large white population who have, almost 80% of South African wealth, have their own personal militia who's protecting them. They have arms, more arms than the South African government. So all that nonsense that Julius Malema is talking about taking the land, he knows that there's going to be a bloodbath in South Africa. Those guys are not going to allow them to have the land. In South Africa, the farmland in that country is 70% is owned by white farmers. I think only like 14% is owned by indigenous South Africans, which is a travesty to say the least. So the reality is, these guys are being backed by the West, by their brothers from Britain and Germany, and so on. So if you don't have military power, you have nothing. And in Africa, we don't have military power. So we have nothing. So if you think these guys can come, that's why I look at Traore, Ibrahim Traore, and he's talking all this nonsense that he's going to kick out the French and he's going to bring the Russian in. But the Russians are even more brutal than the French. I'm not saying that I'm picking the French over the Russians, but when you cross the Russians, they'll poison you. They will kill you.
Do
Two years
you,
from
you
now.
have any Elvis? You have any proof of that in regards to the colonial history of Africa, where the Russians have been more brutal than the French?
I'm talking about the way Russians do things when you cross them. That's what I just said, Dinus.
I'm saying, do you have any proof of that in regards to Africa?
In terms of the Russians and what they do to their enemies, is that
In
what you're
regards
saying?
to Africa, yes. You have any proof of that?
Not in regards to Africa, but what I said was, if you cross them, they will be even more brutal than the French. That's what I said.
You have any proof of that?
My proof of the people who that like Russians are using nerve agents to poison people and kill them, journalists, former Russian citizens, people who have crossed the Russian government,
So the
are
French
the
don't do
poison.
the French don't do the same thing.
I'm not sure, Donis. If you have more evidence on the French doing it, I would like to see it. But we've seen it in the news over, Navalny, Nemtsov, other journalists who have been poisoned and killed, right, in broad daylight by the
I'm just
Russians.
saying, man. Do you have any proof of
I'm giving you a couple of names from the Russians that we
Russian
know about. If you have a couple
being
of names
more?
from the French, if you have a couple of names from the French, I would like to hear. But I'm giving you a few names from the Russians who have been poisoned and killed by nerve agents from the Russians. That's one of their go-to moves. So my point here is, if Traore think doing business with Russia is better than France, kudos to him. But the point is, if you cross the Russians, they're going to be blatant and they're going to be open and do what they have to do to you. So I'm saying it's a slippery slope if he's going down that route. But the point
Yeah,
I was trying to get to is that you shouldn't be so open on your plans. You shouldn't be telling them, okay, we're not going to deal with these guys. We're going to deal with these guys. If you want to be smart, you do things underhand, do things without saying them. Be smart about your movements. Don't telegraph your plans. Do it, covertly, and maybe you have more success that way. Sometimes, people can say show teeth, and have show like they're your friends, but in reality, you're working against their interests. Because if you show that they're your enemy up front, they're going to start working against your interests. So my point is, you got to be smart how you move, because militarily you don't have the might, economically you don't have the might. So you have to use your brains to try to get ahead, and that's what most African leaders don't do. Once they think they want to be in resistance to the West, they start to voice it out, and then the West start to find ways to to eliminate them or to neutralize them. So that's the point I was making. But I'll pass the mic.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I also disagree a little because uh, we don't have a military, but we have a people, and the problem is the the ideological warfare that has been going on in Africa since uh, the European came in. We we are losing that. They are pumping their ideologies, which is their language, uh, religion, and their history within the African education system. So we don't actually have an ideology. If we had the ideology like back before, pre-colonial, they would be afraid to actually go in deeper. The Portuguese were just sailing around the coast, scared to go in deeper, because whenever they went in deep into Africa and they tried something, uh, they they would get ousted. They tried to go into Mali, they were chased out, bows and arrows on ships and canoes. They were chased out. So we are losing the ideological and cultural warfare because we don't promote our own culture or our own political identity. If we do that, uh, a lot of people are killed for it, murdered in Africa. But I kind of like what Julius Malema is doing, which is creating a new ideology, Pan-African, and he's spreading that throughout Africa. He's creating a Pan-African identity. He's creating a pro-African identity and an anti-imperialist identity. Even if it's got a lot of communist ideologies wrapped around it, it's basic to grasp for the grassroots people.
Yeah. I kind of
Same thing. Let me just finish up quickly.
okay.
Same thing Chavez did. Chavez basically, Hugo Chavez, the Venezuela president, as soon as he did a coup in Venezuela, he printed out this little red book and basically handed it out to all of the Venezuelans. This little red book with a loaded with revolutionary political ideologies. So because he was obsessed about being assassinated, because there was loads of assassination attempts, and he didn't want his people to go back to where they were before. So he wanted to develop a political ideology, and I think Burkina Faso, I don't know if they have that because I hear Ibrahim Traore say that a lot. He says pour la patrie ou la mort, which is for the patriarchy or death. That's what he says.
And
But I don't
that's
know
why
if
that's why I think he's so stupid. You know, Sankara was a better leader, a more inspirational leader than he will ever be, and he took the same route and he got killed by Blaise Compaoré, his best friend. Because why? They used Hufil Bonnier, who was their right hand man in West Africa, who was Blaise Compaoré was like his godson. Got even married him to his goddaughter. You know, so the point is, don't show your hands, because no matter how powerful and revolutionary you think you are, there's always connection and people close to you who are willing to take you out. So this whole nonsense of, give me, a liberty or give me death, and there've been, I don't know how many coups against him. You have to unite the people around you and your ideas. You have to get your whole country around you, like what Patrice Lumumba was trying to do before that coward Mobutu came and killed him.
Let
But
me
you
let me
have to
pass
get the entire
let me
country
pass
on
it
your
to
side.
Rokoya. Go ahead, Rokoya.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear.
Oh, great. Well, at least I'm in Accra, and clearly our internet is working well. So I had to come in and make a few commentary here. I didn't obviously join you guys in the beginning, but I had to address some of the commentary because I feel like sometimes we have a lot of people come on these shows and they talk a lot of anecdotal things based on, of course, history or a certain sense of understanding. But if you haven't been in continuously coming to Africa in the last 5 to 10 years, you're really missing a lot of things that clearly are they're like quantum leap type of changes. So when I hear things about, for example, Burkina Faso and Traore, and just the fact that because they are favoring the Russians or not necessarily facing them makes them a threat. Listen, you got to understand that the whole world dynamic is not what it used to be. The paradigm is shifting. Even within their acceptance or their so-called claimed preference for a system that is against the West, they haven't gone. Look at the policies, look at not the utterances, but what they're doing. Because these batch of young people coming, and especially with the ECOWAS being threatened as it is, and the fact that behind the scenes, the ECOWAS itself is realizing that they really can't continue to move. So there are really dynamic changes that are happening right now within the ECOWAS framework and within the alliances that are being built behind the scenes makes the decision making on Africa very complex, and it's not a pro-American, pro-Russian, pro-China thing. It is more of these African countries really realizing that we have a young labor force that needs to be employed right now. We need a young labor because they're as a threat is worse than any coup or any Russian or any American that is coming to you. Your own people are going to unseat you if you can't meet their needs. These people can see where the world is going, and there's a lot of young talent that's changing. So I'm coming on to let you guys know that instead of taking positions of, oh well, just following Western propaganda, or we don't have, yes, we don't have military, but the wars of the future are not going to be fought by military conquest only. You have to get the hearts of the people, fight for loyalty from the people, and you do that by employing people, giving them jobs, giving them ways to feed themselves and their family, not postulate on the internet and act like you know more than you do know, because Africa is complex. I lived in the US for over 35 years. I made a move here. I'm making Pan-African moves. I have businesses from Ghana to Burkina to Rwanda to Uganda, and we're talking amongst ourselves. And it's not only me, it's Africans who are seeing the future, and we're doing these things on the ground. We're not making announcements on YouTube, but the change in Africa is happening, and it's happening now. And I'm just saying that if you want to know what's going on, read beyond the news, read beyond the headlines. Look at what business is doing. Look at what alliances are being built. Look at what the opposition is doing. I'm not saying that we're not smart. Look at what the French are doing. Look at who they are aligning with. See what's happening in ECOWAS. See the position that Nigeria is taking vis-a-vis Ghana or vis-a-vis another country. And then you know what the movement is. So I'll drop the mic here and see if somebody's got some comments for me. Thank you.
Go ahead. Freedom. Let me
Yeah.
pass it to Freedom. Go ahead, Freedom. Unmute yourself, Freedom. Freedom, unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Good afternoon. What an interesting topic. And I think so I hear you guys went already. I don't know how far you guys are in the topic, but I was watching on YouTube. Then I saw you putting a link, and then I joined. I'm actually from DRC, the Congo, and I pretty much understand exactly what's going on. The region is called Great Lakes region, which is Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania and the Congo, and part of Zambia. The issue over there is a really, really huge issue, and a lot of people, a lot of Africans, really look over it, and they don't really understand what's going on over there. And even our brothers in the West, like in America, and all that. The issue there, the title of your topic, I heard that is why people pointing fingers at Kagame. If you really look at it, he's the issue. He's the issue, and he's using, the tactics that have been used since the 1960s to divide people and conquer, which is the tactics that when Belgium left, because they controlled, they were to cover Rwanda and Burundi from German, and they combined with the Congo to. They were governing all those three countries. When the independence came, they decided to divide people so that the conflict will continue for them to keep exploiting the resources in the Congo. So, Mobutu was there for a long time. They supported him. And now we have Kagame now. He's the new Mobutu. So he's using the tribal, to divide. Now, like the war in Congo, Burundi is involved, and he's now twisting it, saying that, oh yeah, it's a Tutsi against the Hutus, really, which is not the issue. The issue is him. He's a puppet of the West. For me, I don't know if you guys had a slave trader from Zanzibar that was doing trades. Yes. I took Kagame as the modern days tip.
Oh,
that's
come
what
on.
he do.
Come on, bro.
So what I want to say, is, how come? No, 1 minute, please. How come when Congolese soldiers captured M23 soldiers I think it was in 2013, they incorporated them into the army?
Yeah, of course, they use. There's a way he will come
into the Congolese army. How does that happen? If it's only Paul Kagame, that's the problem. We all know that we've all been complaining about Joseph Kabila for how long?
He's the only problem. I didn't now say that he's the only problem. He's a major one.
So
the Congolese government is unable to govern, and part of it is that.
It's not unable to govern.
Yes,
I don't think it's because they're unable to govern. It's because they are cooperating. It's a cooperation.
No, bro. You are attacking their most vital, resource-rich region, which that country was supposed to develop from. You have destabilized that region. So mining and other processes that are supposed to bring money into the country is not going on. And then the illicit mining that's going on, that money is being siphoned off to your country and to the West. So you destabilize the entire nation. We know that the richest part of the Congo is in the east, in that, Kivu, Katanga, and the Goma region, where all the resources are. And that's where true. Kagame and these
okay, what
these
about
guys
all the
are fighting.
mines that are Elvis? What about all the mines owned by Glencore now? What about all the mines that the government own? What about all the Chinese mines that's open right now that's not in Kivu? What about all the mines that the government owns? Okay, this idea that Rwanda is taking the resource is just absurd. Like there's already mines that are controlled by the government. They just don't use it to build up their country. They just use it and go to Belgium and trick off. That's what all these people, Congolese, do. They take the money and they go to Belgium or France and trick off. You guys know it. You guys know Felix does it. Kabila does it. They all take the money. They leave the people poor. They go to
Okay,
Belgium. They go to France.
okay.
They
This is the
party.
point.
They buy prostitutes.
Okay, go look where they came from. How did they get in power? Through Kagame.
Who?
Yes, all of them.
Who? Kabila? Yeah, Kabila was put in
Felix,
place by.
Kabila, and Felix too.
Yeah, and
Kagame was the first
Kabila
one
picked
to.
Tshisekedi to be his successor, and that's why I didn't like him. I think Martin Fayulu should have
No,
been the
it's
guy.
all goes back to Kagame, brother. It's all back to Kagame. He's being greedy, and I'm thinking not even now he's being replaced by Ruto. But the issue there's a lot of militias in Eastern Congo, the Kivu, the two Kivus. Those militias were all created by Rwanda. And I think you talk about the
that's a
minerals.
complete lie, bro. That's
What are you
complete lie.
saying no for, Scholar? This is a
No, they're
Congolese
not.
talking
No,
to you.
there's a
You don't
bunch. You know,
understand the
there's over a
situation on
bunch
the
of
ground,
militias in the
bro.
Congo.
He's a
85.
Congolese. He's telling you what's going on in his country, and you're telling him no as if you know more than him.
So there's
Exactly.
The
one
Lord's
militia.
Resistance
There's just
Army.
one militia
The
in the
Lord's
Congo.
Resistance Army. The Lord's Resistance Army
Yeah,
was from Uganda.
that's Corny, right? Joseph
The,
Corny. Originally, I think he's from Uganda. He's originally from Uganda.
also lately, the Congo had a problem with Kenya. I think it was either Kenya or Uganda. They had to kick the Kenyan troops out because the Congo found out that Kenya was importing gold from Kenya Airways straight to Kenya, from Congo straight to Kenya, to two of the flight crew from
I think it was
air.
2 stories like that.
Well, the Kenyan army came as Eastern African community army. There was Uganda, Kenya,
Burundi, Rwanda,
South Sudan,
and Congo itself, and
yes,
the Congolese army itself.
Yes, I think to me, I think they were not really there to fight. So, again, I'm going back to who put those people in power? Who puts Joseph Kabila in power? It's them. It's Kagame, Museveni.
No.
Who did?
It's companies like Anglo Gold Ashanti.
Yeah, but they're not in there's no way they can do it without those two people.
And I'm just saying it's those multi conglomerates. The same thing Shell is doing in Nigeria. The same thing Anglo Gold Ashanti. The new one is Huey. Huey is in the east of Congo, and they've locked down all of the politicians and the soldiers. Basically, it's so bad that a UN reporter was actually taken out for trying to go and investigate what Huey are doing in the east of Congo. So these multinational companies have contracts in the Congo. It's in the UN mapping. They've got contracts in the Congo for 200 years, 400 years, 100 years. They've got contracts of land with gold, diamonds. It's not just east of Congo, all the way as far as north. Canadian companies, all of this. There's a huge list of companies that have a stake there, and their go-to men, like the brother was saying, are those elites or those dictators are their go-to men. So it's got nothing to do with the population. It's got nothing to do with the Rwandan population. It's got nothing to do with the Congolese population. It's these old companies, along with their bosses. Their bosses are the monarchies, because those companies are.
That's why I compare Kagame to Tipo, because he has those companies that he's working for,
bro.
causes troubles
Paul Kagame the CEO of Glencore? Is Paul Kagame the CEO of Glencore? Like, how is he working for these companies? They all go to the Congolese government and ask them for contracts to be in the
Oh
Congo.
my
Like, that's
God,
how they
Okay,
bro!
work.
okay, listen,
You
brother.
have a
Listen,
simplistic view of things. I keep
there is
saying it.
So they
there
lie.
is
So
areas.
they, so
There's a lot of areas controlled by groups like army groups that because they have weakened the government. You know, by the Congo government is also divided. You know, on lands of the parties and the tribes. And plus, of course, Tshisekedi, like I said, he really put there by the people. He was
they,
put that the West and
One
the,
second, freedom. 1 second. Let me ask Kyler a question. Before I even ask the question, let me just preface this on this. Look, in Africa, it's not just a Congo thing, right? Almost every country in Africa does not produce any end product from their natural resources. Even Nigeria, for example, they have crude oil and they couldn't refine it until Dangote just opened a refinery, I think last year. So my point is, what does Rwanda produce? Since Kagame is this great leader, what does he produce from his natural resources that you said they have so much of in Rwanda, and is
I
exporting
said,
to other
whoa, hold
countries
on,
and making money
Elvis.
for his people?
Elvis, I said they have resources. I said now you're trying to make like, oh, they have this much. There's resources all over over the continent. All right, like I know like there's this conspiracy that there's no resources in Rwanda, but they
I'm
are.
asking you a question. My question is not even about the
So
resources. I
they have
give you that there are resources in Uganda. What is Kagame doing with
and
the
Rwanda
resources to
and
bring money
Rwanda.
to? Hold on. What is Kagame doing with the resources in Uganda to bring money to Uganda? Is he exporting them through concessions? Is he making products from it and selling it outside of the country and making money? How is
They
he
have a
building
methane
Uganda,
plant. Hold up.
Rwanda? How is he building the country?
They have a
Can I
methane
say
plant in.
something?
No, no,
Yeah,
please
Can I?
allow him to answer the question, please.
yeah.
Go ahead,
So they
Tyler.
have a methane plant. They have a methane plant in Lake Kivu and some lake that the government owns. It's just this methane plant that extracts methane to the lake. And also they use the aid money and they use that to development, some of that, and they're trying to get off of the aid money. And they have gold, they have other resources that they export. I'm sure they export raw materials like any other country, but they use the revenue for the raw materials to develop their country. Like I don't know every single project they have, but I do know they have a methane plant and a gold refinery. They could have some other things I don't know, but they do have a gold
Yeah.
refinery. They do. They have a state gold refinery and they have a state
Let me
methane plant.
let me
Yeah,
say something
Kagame,
about. I
Kagame
want
was
to say.
Kagame was actually one of the main leaders that led that whole Rwandan genocide. If you didn't know that,
And he
He led
fought
the genocide.
alongside Museveni to remove Milton Obote from Uganda as well.
That
He
is true.
fought
That is
alongside
true.
him.
Yeah. But hold up, you
Let
said he
me
led
that's
just
the
what.
genocide.
you guys.
That's
I want to say.
what.
And go
Can I
ahead,
say
Rokoya.
something?
Go ahead, Rokoya. Go
Okay,
ahead.
because I think sometimes you have to put the cart behind the horse so that the horse will pull the cart. We're making all these assertions, and again, I think one of the biggest and obvious elephant in the room issue that a lot of people don't address when it comes to Kagame and his relationship with the Congo is the ethnic composition of the people on the eastern side of in the provinces of the border, the border region between his country and the Congo. These are ethnically people who should be Rwandans, if you want to use that word, because of the artificial borders that were created. And unfortunately, this is an issue in Africa that nobody talks about. Because if the people in the East self-identify with their brothers along the other side of the border and move goods and services freely like they've done for centuries across these lands, then saying that, quote unquote, Kagame is extracting things from the Congo and selling in his own country is a bit of a misnomer. It's just like in Ghana here, where right across from Ghana and Togo, the people are the same people. Literally, you have borders crossing people's homes. You have the brother, one being a Ghanaian and the other brother being a Togolese. And they are, some people are farming their lands, their farmlands are in Ghana, some are in Togo. So these borders really are porous and they don't work. And I think it's one of the big problems that we have across these border, and it's being capitalized on. Now, there's a lot of confusion in Congo. And I know I'm not Congolese, but I am attempting to, right now as I speak, open up one of our plants in the DRC. And we're working with people from the continent, from that part of the country. And they are telling us about some of these basic problems which make the country ungovernable. First, it's a very huge country. It has these porous borders. There's a lot lack of integration between the provinces where everybody is doing their own thing. And we have warlordism. We have elites that are disconnected from the people. So I think just maybe the topic may be trying to provoke a certain type of response. But Kagame cannot do it on his own. He has a whole tribe of people who identify, and because Congo is chaotic, if they have access to resources, they try to go take these resources where there's a little bit more control. They can get returns for the things they bring across the border. I'm just saying, like, sometimes we try to use these big razzmatazz expressions when we should deal with the obvious. Africa has a big problem. Yes, we're not always on the right side of the story, but there are problems from colonial administration that must be addressed. And if they are, I think it will help resolve some of these conflicts, because how can you pass a border in an ethnic group where one side is here, one side is here? They don't have allegiance to the national government, so they're going to move stuff to their brethren. Again, I like to stop here and let somebody comment. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I come in? Can I come in very quick on that?
No.
Because
Let me pass the
that's
Kivu. Go ahead,
exactly
Kivu.
what he's using. I'm part of the people. Give me 1 second, sir.
One mic. Go ahead.
1 second. Just 1 second.
One mic. Oh, God. Go ahead, Kivu.
Yes, hello. Can I be heard?
Yeah, go ahead. You're kind of muffled, but go ahead.
Okay. Okay, I'll project my voice a little bit louder. Maybe this is a little clearer. So yeah, so I am Congolese, and I just came just to answer the question of the show, and then I'll let everybody, speak. The answer is, well, let's see. Let me try to break it down. Okay. The answer as to why everyone's pointing, at least in the Congolese media circles, intellectual circles, and civilians that are in the Kivu provinces affected, is because the Kagame himself, but not only him, he is the leader of the Rwandan Revolutionary Front, or Rwandan Revolution Patriotic Front, so the RPF. So the RPF is the ruling group in Rwanda, and Kagame, who used to be trained, he was trained by the Americans sometimes in the late 70s, and he has decided, for reasons a lot of people can speculate, that he is going to be America and UK's man in Central Africa, in the Great Lake regions, in order to gain access to the resources that are in the Kivu region. Now, the reason why the United States wants access to that is because they have a listing of a variety of minerals from that region as far back as 1942. And since 1942, the United States have always wanted to gain control over those particular mineral resources, because those are strategic mineral resources which the United States will be using to be making weapons. Now, as some people in the audience might know, the key resource that is more commercial is Columban tantalite, which is in our phones that I guess we're all using. And so Columban tantalite has to be taken out of the Kivu provinces so that these commercial electronics can be made. But primarily as well, there's a military defense interest involved in terms of strategic minerals to make weapons. So that is like kind of the American and UK side of what's going on. In the Rwandan side, in terms of Kagame himself, he and his RPF, they have decided to partner with the United States and the UK to utilize the sale of these minerals to advance their own interests. And their group interest is, and you're going to have to be patient with me on this one, just kind of roll with me on this one. It is to basically expand they want to basically take the Kivu provinces for themselves. So they want to expand Rwanda's territory. They want to annex the Kivu provinces and make it part of Rwanda. That's why there's their proxy army M23 is in the region as we are speaking right now. Then on the Congolese side, I'm hearing people talking about the internal factors as well, the internal vulnerabilities. A lot of it has to do with just a Congolese political elite that has pretty much overwhelmed due to some of the decisions that Mobutu made before he was overthrown during the Bill Clinton era. I don't know if a lot of people know here, but Bill Clinton was the one that sent the hit out to get Mobutu out of there. When Mobutu was in power, what happened is that after the events in Rwanda, in Kigali, with the massacres and everything, the French, well, let me step back a bit. Mobutu wanted to get back in good graces with the West. His relationship with the West was a little bit strenuous at the time. He wanted to get back in their good graces. And the United States was shunning him. They cut him off for whatever reason, but they cut him off. So he went towards the French. The French said, Mobutu, we'll definitely work with you, but you need to open your borders at the east to let the refugees of the Rwandan genocide refugees, the Hutu refugees, into the country. So this was known as Opération Turquoise, that a lot of people don't even know about. But Opération Turquoise demanded that Mobutu opens up his borders to let Hutu refugees in, but as part of a humanitarian operation. So, okay, Mobutu went along with it. This is a humanitarian operation. He looks good in the international press. He thought, what's the big deal? Well, Mobutu's government found out that the French were bringing in the Hutus into Kivu, but not just any Hutus. These were the ones that the French were backing to conduct those massacres, but also bringing Habyarimana's army. So when they were crossing the border, they were bringing in weapons, they were bringing in all of their military hardware across the border. Mobutu found out, and he said, well, why are these military hardware coming in here? Kagame, who was I think he took power around that time, used that as an excuse to go in and invade, which is what happened. Kagame said, oh, well, Mobutu is helping, he's like back, he's in partnership with the old regime and the Hutu militia, so we have to go there and invade, which was what he used to justify it. So Opération Turquoise under the French was this cataclysmic event that led to this kind of like back and forth, this kind of, how do you say, a strainer, if you will, this constant back and forth between Rwanda and Congo and how these people can just constantly cross the border. Well, Opération Turquoise is the cataclysmic event that led to that. So after Opération Turquoise, this is when like Bill Clinton and his whole thing of getting Mobutu out comes into play when Kabila and of course the Rwandan Patriotic Front, which I think at the top leading it was James Kabarebe. That's a whole other story, but Kagame, no, not Kagame, but Kabila, he basically overthrows Mobutu. They overthrow him. It was a whole situation. Mobutu didn't want to leave at some point. Nelson Mandela had to come in, tell Mobutu to get out and leave. Nelson was not happy that day. People remember he was really mad, and it was very unusual. People were surprised, but Nelson was like, look, Mobutu, you're going to have to leave, okay? And he told Kabila, okay, take over, just try to get some order around here. Okay, Kabila gets in. Then Kabila finds out that the Rwandans that he was working with to overthrow Mobutu, they were trying to gain control, territorial control in the Kivu provinces. Kabila finds out, says, I don't want to work with you guys anymore. I need you guys to leave the country. That's when there was like that's when like the Rwandan side of the deal was basically severed, and then the M23, if you will, kind of came out of that. So this M23 terrorists, I call them terrorists, but they're basically the extension of the Rwandan Patriotic Front, which is of course led by Kagame. And the M23, they use the argument that, they're part of the region, they are Congolese, and therefore all attempts from the Congolese government to kick them out or to kick them out of the country is basically an act of discrimination. When it's not, they are former RPF, like they're actually RPF soldiers that are there. But anytime the Congolese government tries to deal with them, they always say that they're being discriminated against, which kind of creates this kind of it just creates a lot of political tensions in Kinshasa in terms of how to deal with this. Because anytime Kinshasa makes a move, they start running to the international community saying that they're being discriminated against. Now, this worked up until recently when Blinken made a tweet. Anthony Blinken, is that his name? Is that his name, I guess, Blinken? He kind of made a tweet about the Rwandan genocide, the commemoration of the genocide of Rwanda. And he made a tweet stating that how the genocide affected everybody. Now, this tweet, which was very recent, indicates that Washington is trying to sort of distance themselves from Kagame right now because of how messy this is turning out. And they're trying to they're trying to act like they don't even know Kagame right now. And Blinken's tweet is considered, at least in Congo right now, a major turning point, because Kagame said that the genocide he wanted to change the name to the Tutsi genocide, or the genocide of the Tutsi. But when Blinken went on Twitter to pretty much correct him to say that no, the genocide, it's the genocide of Rwandans, Tutsi, Twa, and Hutu. So now, that's why you're probably seeing, that's why the narrative of a lot of focus on Kagame is probably why you guys are hearing it now, is because for the past 27 years, people have been trying to sound the alarm about this particular person, about Kagame, about the fact that he was trained by the United States, about the fact that he is basically doing the US and UK bidding of not only committing crimes against humanity in Congo, but also putting the entire African continent into an even worse position by providing strategic minerals to the West to make weapons that none of these African countries will probably ever be able to defend against. So even from a military perspective, it's just short. I don't even know if it's short-sighted, or I don't know what Kagame and all them were thinking, but I just don't see how that makes any sense from a defense perspective. And then the other part about how Kagame and the RPF wants to basically annex the Kivu provinces to create this Hima Tutsi empire. That's what it's known as, this Hima Tutsi land, or whatever the heck it is. That's kind of like, that's another side of it, but some people are kind of catching on to that as well, because there's some strange rhetoric coming from certain groups that are in the region that are hinting at this. So it's a very crazy combination of the West, not just using Congo's resources to make phones and TVs, but mainly to make weapons of mass destruction. And then in Rwanda, under Kagame and the RPF, to create this Tutsi land, and then internally in Congo, having such a hard time struggling to go up against these Rwandan paramilitary entities because of the constant backlash of persecution. Because if the Congolese government takes a stronger position, the other side keeps saying, "Oh, we're being persecuted because we're Tutsi. We're being persecuted because we're Banyamulenge," which is the the code word for Tutsi. So they've been doing this for 27 years. Everyone is tired. And at this point, the focus right now, at least in the Congolese community, in the diaspora and on the ground, is to support humanitarian operations in Kivu. So for everyone that's listening, please check out Focus Congo. Again, I repeat, Focus Congo. Focus Congo again. They are a humanitarian organization in Kivu right now, helping with the refugees, especially the refugee camp that was bombed 2 weeks ago. Okay, thank you, Diana. I'll let
Wow.
everyone speak. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank
So I
you
have a
so much.
question.
You really did an
I have a
excellent job.
question. We have a question real quick with Kivu. You there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
I have a question. So why is it when people say like Paul Kagame is a puppet of West, but even Barack Obama didn't want to have a third term, and Donald Trump put sanctions on them? It seemed like Bill Clinton is the West because the only time Paul Kagame had any relations with the West was one, he went to go train, and two, he shook hands with Bill Clinton. That's it. Outside of Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and kind of Joe Biden, like, did not like Paul Kagame. Like, I don't get this idea when he was on Puppet of the West, where again, Barack Obama did not want him to have a third term, and Donald Trump put sanctions on him. So I don't get this idea where he's like a puppet of the West or anything like that. When again, the only time he was on good relations with America was Bill Clinton, and he's been gone for like a decade or something. And the only ones, and that's it, and that's it. So there's never been any relations with any of the next presidents. And second,
She just told you.
no, she didn't. She just said
He
he's a
told you
puppet.
he's taking the
Nope.
mineral resources from Kivu and selling it to the West so that they can build weapons with it.
Okay, what about
That's
all the
why he's a
Canadian
puppet.
mines, the Glencore mines, all the mines right now that's happening in the Congo right now?
Yeah, those
Like,
are Those are concessions. That's over the counter. Paul Kagame is doing it underneath. He's doing it clandestinely. He's not doing it officially. He's doing it through means by the rebels. That's why he's working for the West. She
okay,
said it to you. She was so brilliant in her
no,
explanation. She was long winded,
Yeah.
but she was brilliant in her explanation. I think we all understood it. You're just being hard headed.
no, she just said he's a puppet of the West. Again, what puppet? Bill Clinton, Barack Obama did not want to have a third term. How is that being a puppet when he doesn't want to have a third term? Did Barack Obama say Paul Biya should have a third term, or any of the other guys? But again,
Do you understand what being a puppet is? You think when you're a puppet, they come in and announce it to the world that this guy is my puppet? You think that's how it works?
Did they tell Paul Biya to step down? Who did they tell anyone else to step down?
We're not even talking about Cameroon. We're talking about Congo right now, bro. Focus.
Yeah, no, you spoke. Yeah, again, he keeps saying he's a puppet of West. Again, Barack Obama told him to step down. How is
Told
he
who to step down?
puppet?
Paul Biya?
No, Paul Kagame.
How did Paul Kagame put together the army that supposedly ousted the Hutus? If I can answer that
Again,
question.
it was with 70 and Rwanda pretty much. And again, he has some training in America, but again, he was trained in America. That means he wasn't backed by America. Again, France supported the Hutu government. France supported the Hutu government, and Ronald Reagan supported Mobutu. So where is this like he's backed by the West? He was trained in America, yeah, but he was also trained in Uganda. But again, France was backing the Hutu government, and Ronald was backed by
Earlier, I told you that Museveni, Ruto, but before him, his predecessor, they're working in close ties with the United States government to fight against Al Shabaab. They get a lot of military aid from the U.S. government, and Kagame gets some of that aid as well.
Aid from the government.
Say that again.
Every country across Africa gets military aid against from the West.
That's not true. If the U.S. have a strategic interest in the region, especially when it comes to terrorism, like you have from Al Shabaab in Somalia, like a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago, you heard on the news where Somalians, Al Shabaab terrorists went into like university and killed a bunch of Kenyans, went into a mall in I think Mombasa and killed a bunch of people. But you don't hear about that anymore. That's because the U.S. has been putting more aid in that region, and Kenya in particular has been leading the fight along with Museveni in Uganda. And we know that Museveni and Kagame are very close. They have a long history, military history, and they share intelligence. So when you're talking about being a puppet, it's not going to be as explicit and overt. These things are covertly done. So if you don't have the mind to understand and discernment to dig deeper, you're not going to see it written on their forehead that this guy is a puppet. You got to read the tea leaves. That's what the
Yeah,
sister
bro.
was telling you just now.
Fighting Islamic Jihad is being a puppet of the West. Like fighting Islamic Jihad as being a
Look, you're
puppet of the West.
fighting for their interests, and they're giving you money to fight for
How
their
is
interests.
fighting? So is Captain Ibrahim fighting is fighting for the West when he fights the Islamic terrorists in Burkina Faso? Mali.
Do you not even understand why the coup in Burkina Faso happened? The U.S. had one of the largest bases in West Africa in Burkina
That
Faso.
was
They
targeted,
were
but because
training
they weren't taking
Ghanaians,
out the terrorists.
Ivorians in that country
They weren't taking
because
out the
of ISWAP,
terrorists.
because
That's
of
why.
the
That's
Islamic
one of the
State in
reasons
West
for the coup.
Africa. That's why they were training a lot of armies from the region in Burkina Faso. That's why it was a strategic point for the United States to be training these different armies in Burkina Faso to fight against ISWAP in case Boko Haram and the Islamic State in West Africa wanted to expand, especially in Ivory Coast and Nigeria. Bro, you don't understand these things, and you just want to have
No, bro, you don't understand.
you know.
Captain Ibrahim wanted to coup because they weren't fighting the terrorists. That's why he led one of the reasons why he led the coup, because they were having a problem with the terrorists, and France wasn't helping to defeat them. So they
No, because
couped. So
he was against the U.S. military installation in his country.
that's one of the
That's why
reasons.
he
That's
did the
one,
coup, and
and
then
the
he
coup
deported
he
the
said
U.S. He closed the
that's
base
one of the
down.
reasons to get rid of the terrorists. He said that they weren't getting rid of the terrorists. That's one of the reasons why
So
they. That's why.
where did Kagame get the funds to actually pull
Again,
that whole
there's,
rebellion against the so-called Hutu? Which
there's a
Yeah,
lot
what
of
was
ways.
he got
really
it. He got it
necessary?
through. He got it through Uganda. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with Museveni and his close ties with the United States. He's one of their key allies in that region. Um, so how now we have to go to what happened in 1990. There was a invasion um, again from Paul Kagame with the RPF. They invaded Rwanda in 1990 via Uganda. And so how it worked is that Uganda kind of acted as a liaison or a middle entity in order to provide the types of military resources to Kagame and the RPF, who were trained in Uganda as well, in order to cross into Rwanda and to basically try to overthrow Habyarimana's regime in 1990. So basically, Uganda is this kind of middle entity where they do procure weapons primarily from the United States on behalf of major mining interests and, of course, defense interests of the United States government. I just wanted to add that the special interest politics of the United States goes beyond just the term of a particular president. These special interest groups, lobby groups, they are there for many, many years. And one of the key figures or popular ones, especially when it comes to Congo, has been Maurice Tempelsman. He's one of them, but as well as a lot of, he's more the traditional one, but in terms of the modern times, it's more of like a um, major multinational corporations, of course, as mentioned from a variety of countries. But the United States has a bigger stake in this, of course, because they want to, they have a military industrial complex. They want to gain military primacy in the world. So it's in their interest to do that. In order to kind of highlight that, my point is that I don't know if everybody on this panel knows or the audience knows, but the Manhattan Project was utilized uranium from Katanga in Congo. So the uranium of Katanga was used during the Manhattan Project, and that is the uranium that was used to blow up Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So you have to look at it from that perspective. If you are part of a special interest group in the United States, especially in the defense industries or weapons industries, do you really think that, oh well, Bill Clinton's out of office, I guess I can go. I guess I don't need to lobby anymore and go home. Well, no, you still have these lobbyists that clearly hang around every election cycle to throw money at various political parties and political party leaders in order to make sure that their agenda gets integrated into foreign policy and use the taxpayers of Americans to finance a lot of the procurement of these minerals for defensive purposes and as well as corporate interests as well. So if you think of it like that from the perspective of not only defense industries, but also from the perspective of America, like, the special interests that want to make sure that the United States maintains military primacy. Do you really think that that particular interest group is going to just go home because of an election cycle that has changed? I don't. I would assume not. We've all seen the footage of Hiroshima. We've all seen the footage of Nagasaki. The pure destruction of what those nuclear weapons do. Nobody in Katanga, no one would have ever thought that that's what they would do with uranium. As far as my people are concerned, uranium is just this kind of yellowish substance that might be nice to make a few dyes or maybe, paint some pots, but not to blow up a whole city with tens of thousands of people.
You are
Nobody would
strong,
have ever
sister.
thought of that.
Yeah,
So I just wanted to
don't
say
get
that.
emotional. Be strong. You've been
No, we
very
should.
strong on the
Yeah,
platform.
yeah.
Keep strong. Don't
No,
cry.
oh no, I know. I'm just like thinking of um, just like I'm just I'm just thinking of I just want to be a voice. My shaking voice is not for me. I just want the men. I know the men on this panel. I understand, but I just want my shaking voice to be a voice of those in people that are not heard. And
It is
if you guys can
her.
see
I'm
it that
telling
way,
you.
no, I'm just
It is
that.
her.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate it. I just want that voice to be heard as well because people have ignored it for so long. And again, to anyone listening, please support Focus Congo. Again, Focus Congo, please support Focus Congo's humanitarian efforts and people. Thank you.
All right,
Okay.
Diners. I'm
Hey,
gonna head out, but I think
Yeah,
the
yeah,
sister
yeah,
made my point
we're
better
gonna
than I did.
well, hold on. Go ahead, set two. Then we're gonna close
yeah, I
out. Go
didn't.
ahead, set two.
Yeah, I've been here, and I just wanted to salute Kibu for what the speech she just made, and what she was talking about is like this is what we need to hear because this is clear coming from her heart. She know what she's talking about, and it is the reality. And we need to spread this word for the humanity to know what's happening for real. These people are military. They are system thinkers. They are trying to destroy and control. So this is what we need to hear, and nobody has nothing to say after Kibu say like drop the mic. So I just wanted to say this. Thank you for sharing this information, and I'm gonna follow your like what your profile and support the fight. Thank you so much.
Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family. That is in search for Huru. Peace.